Part 86. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 861. Two bodies, one cold and the other rough, with completely different temperaments. But this time the combat power is closer. After all, Wu Yu can be considered to have improved his realm. He summoned the puppet array, and this time he went to the last one, the white array. In this way, the other arrays disappeared with the puppets. Wu Yu once again crossed 8 levels of challenges and approached the pinnacle of the designer of the floating life tower. It is even estimated that the person who created this floating life tower did not expect that someone could cross 8 realms. The puppet in the white array was slightly different from the previous huge and violent skeleton flame dragon. It seemed to be a human figure. Compared with the skeleton flame dragon, it was of course very thin and small. It was just an ordinary human figure, and it felt very weak, but Wu Yu did not think so. In Wu Yu's opinion, the puppet in the human figure was much more dangerous than the skeleton flame dragon. There was even a strong sense of crisis. This puppet was very sharp all over. The gaze in the array had a penetrating feeling, which should be completely different from all the other arrays that Wu Yu had challenged before. When the light of the magic circle was at its strongest, it suddenly disappeared, and Wu Yu finally saw the appearance of the puppet. When he saw it for the first time, he was so surprised that he couldn't speak. Sure enough, after reaching the 3 disasters asking realm, it was really completely different. There were various puppets in the past, but they were all made of steel, or mechanical wood, and they were also human and animal forms, but the puppet in front of him looked like a real person. This was an old man in a blue robe, with gray hair and eyebrows, a slightly ruddy face, and a shining look in his eyes. His face was a little cold, but overall he looked no different from a real person. His skin, eyes, lips, hair, and nose bridge looked like a real person without the use of fire eyes. He was not tall, and at this time he stood with his hands behind his back, coldly blocking Wu Yu, carrying 2 swords behind him. Judging from the hilts, one was black and the other was white. This man was like a swordsman, standing in front of Wu Yu, his face unchanged. But Wu Yu could see the clues with his eyes of fire. Except for its skin, everything that can be seen on the outside is indeed real, but inside, it is a very high-level treasure material, estimated to have more than 9 spiritual patterns, and there are several kinds of materials, and the refining techniques are also quite superb. There are hundreds of thousands of puppet arrays, which are much more than Wu Yu's one long stick, and more rigorous. To be honest, the value of this puppet is really high, at least 10 times that of the skeleton flame dragon, and more than many upper spiritual instruments. Having such a puppet, for example, to protect the younger generation is equivalent to a 3 disasters asking the way realm. Of course it is very useful. This value is estimated to be similar to the Wujitian Zoo. Wu Yu used to think that the floating life tower would be an upper spiritual instrument, but now it is impossible. One of the puppets is the value of an upper spiritual instrument. Although it is not sure how many puppets there are behind, there should be more, at least stronger than the one in front of him. If this puppet is brought out, if you don't look carefully, others may think it is a real person, Wu Yu's elder or something. But Wu Yu also realized that such a puppet seemed to be one level beyond the skeleton flame dragon, completely different, so the lethality and difficulty of the challenge should be very high, because this kind of puppet is immortal. To surrender, the clone must be destroyed. Although he has 2 bodies, he also feels the pressure. My name is, Sword Spirit Master. If you have any advice, just do it. The puppet bowed and said coldly to Wu Yu, and then slowly pulled out 2 swords from behind. In fact, the 2 swords are made of the same material as his body. When he held the sword, they were actually fused together. Naturally, there were dense arrays on the 2 swords. When he held the 2 swords, they were a whole. The Sword Spirit Master stood with the sword horizontally. For a moment, the sword energy was crisscrossed, whistling in the floating life tower, and the overwhelming momentum swept against the sky. From this, it can be seen that this puppet is very difficult to deal with. There was no need to talk nonsense with this puppet, just defeat it, so at this time, Wu Yu did not say much. His two bodies, one on the left and one on the right, each used their own methods to force the sword spirit master. Yin-yang sword intention. As if he had seen the world, the sword spirit master faced the attacks of Wu Yu and the devouring heaven body without changing his expression. He calmly used the attack array stored in his array. The two swords on the left and right, one black and one white, fully demonstrated the top lethality. Northern Dark Holy Land Dragon Array, the devouring heaven body on the left turned the Northern Dark Emperor K in his hand into a long whip. The long whip was like a dragon. When it turned, it made a sharp sound. The barbs and the whip tail were particularly sharp. Under this fierce swing, it was like the nether sea surging. In that long sea, it was like a dragon swinging its tail, and it blasted towards the sword spirit master. The Great Desolate Finger Technique. Before performing this spell, Wu Yu first performed his clone. The golden fairy ape plucked out a hair and blew it upwards. Suddenly, tens of thousands of clones appeared and built a wall inside the floating life tower. One by one, they were all Wu Yu. Then, in an instant, with the main body as the core, all the clones performed this spell at the same time. Wu Yu pointed at the center and penetrated. Wherever his finger pointed, the yellow dragon came out of the cave. The desolate air formed a giant beast. The giant beast had no hands or feet, but had a big mouth. At this time, it opened its big mouth and swallowed and killed the sword spirit. Wherever it went, all living things were destroyed and everything was desolate. During this process, tens of thousands of the same giant beasts gathered in this giant beast, making it completely solid. In a blink of an eye, it changed into the appearance of the desolate beast and rolled away angrily. At this time, its power was not much weaker than the beaming Emperor K and the body of the devouring heaven next to it. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Whoosh! The sword spirit was not in a hurry. In addition to the yin-yang sword intent, the double sword stabbed, and there were only two very simple sword auras, one black and one white. The black sword aura contained a cold sword intent and killed in front of the main body, while the white sword intent had a burning meaning and collided head-on with the beaming Emperor K. Buzz. At this time, Wu Yu found that the entire floating life tower seemed to be providing power for the sword spirit master. Perhaps this level of puppet is the core of the floating life tower, so the power it can induce is also greater. The simple yin-yang sword intent attack showed a very extraordinary lethality and strong penetration. In the blink of an eye, the sword intent penetrated and pierced into the mouth of the desolate beast, and actually penetrated the desolate beast, causing Wu Yu's finger method to collapse instantly. The opponent's attack array was so powerful that Wu Yu was very surprised. The situation on the other side was similar. The sky-devouring body and the North Ming Emperor K combined could not defeat the opponent. Instead, the opponent's sword intent caused the attack of Wu Yu's two bodies to completely collapse. If it hadn't been for the quick dodge, the sharp sword energy could have hurt Wu Yu's two bodies. Wu Yu hadn't fought against a real sword cultivator for a long time. This sword spirit master was like the top sword cultivator, with the characteristics of fast, accurate and ruthless. For example, the sword intent just now was fast and ruthless, and it penetrated directly. This made Wu Yu realize that his opponent was difficult to deal with, and his opponent did not give him a chance at this time. After the yin-yang sword intent, he also showed a strong speed of movement, which was fleeting. If the sword light surged, and then suddenly appeared, the two swords crossed. Obviously, the magic arrays all over his body were changing and operating, and it was estimated that a new attack would soon burst out. This is the advantage of the puppet. The attack magic array is faster than that of the cultivator. The attacks are continuous, and coupled with the characteristics of not fearing death, it is indeed quite difficult to deal with. Fish killing. The sword spirit venerable was simple and crude, which made Wu Yu a little dumbfounded. At this time, he showed a more terrifying attack method again, which was fierce and fast. The two swords combined and drew a profound Tai Chi pattern. The two yin-yang fish were connected head to tail. The Tai Chi diagram was running and suddenly became larger, appearing on the top of Wu Yu's two bodies. The next moment, thousands of sword chi fell from the Tai Chi diagram, some black, some white, and the attack speed was very terrifying. There was no time to resist, and the penetrating power was quite strong. It pierced into Wu Yu's indestructible body and turned into tens of thousands of small sword chi, tearing the whole body, directly blocking the attack of Wu Yu's body and the body of Swallowing the Sky. This violent attack directly forced Wu Yu to withdraw from the floating tower. When he appeared outside the floating tower, the two bodies looked at each other, which undoubtedly meant that he had failed in this challenge. It's amazing Wu Yu was not depressed. The stronger the puppets of the floating tower, the happier he was. The only regret was that it might be a little difficult to use this sword spirit venerable to succeed in the challenge in a short time. After resting and recuperating, he was ready to challenge the sword spirit venerable again. Although he avoided Yu Shi this time, the sword spirit venerable still had a stronger attack, and Wu Yu's advantage of the indestructible body of the diamond was not as strong as before, so the second challenge still failed. It feels like it's still a little short, but in fact, the gap is huge, because Wu Yu not only has to defeat the opponent, but also has to smash the opponent to pieces. Once he fails, the opponent will recover. So Wu Yu challenged several times, but still failed, which shows that their temporary strength is really not enough. After persisting for a few more times, Wu Yu still gave up. He felt that after a period of time, his strength would be improved. Now no matter how he fights, it's still a little short. Of course, Jianlingzun is actually quite powerful and merciless. It's also a good choice to challenge Jianlingzun to cultivate Taoism. The more times he fights, the more Wu Yu understands his magic circle. This is the first time he failed to challenge the puppet. After the failure, he thought about it. If I can sneak into the Blood Hell Cave and fight the ghost array guest, it would be good. Otherwise, there is no point in staying here. If I'm still not his opponent, I'll find out the shortcomings. He has experience fighting Jianlingzun, so he is not afraid of the ghost array guest. Moreover, he is actually very curious about the Blood Hell Cave. After making his choice, he went deeper again, looking for the Blood Hell Cave where he had visited last time. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 862. In Wu Yu's opinion, the sword spirit master is immortal, has no weaknesses, is cold and warlike, and the ghost array guest is more flexible, but there are opportunities to take advantage of. In contrast, the ghost array guest should be easier to deal with than the sword spirit master, and it may be possible to kill him. And against the ghost array guest, you can also use the skeleton flame dragon. In addition, the last time I saw the huge Blood Hell Cave, the city of the Ghost Flame clan, Wu Yu also wanted to sneak into it to take a look. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. It took half a day to shuttle through this increasingly hot lava hell, and finally saw the Blood Hell Cave again. This huge sphere has densely packed skeletons on it, and each one can enter it, and there should be a closed city inside. The city of ghost cultivators. Nowadays, there are also many people going in and out of the Blood Hell Cave. The strong ones are at the Dao Dao realm, and the weak ones are probably only at the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. There are even some children at the Golden Core realm who occasionally stick their heads out. Wu Yu had already found out clearly. He had arrested many Ghost Flame clan members before, and he had asked all of them. There are many magic arrays outside the Blood Hell Cave to block the Yanhuan clan, but unless there is a major event, they will basically not be activated. After all, the power consumption is too great. However, if a Yanhuang clan breaks in privately, these several major arrays will be triggered immediately. There are many magic arrays blocking Wu Yu from the distance to the Blood Hell Cave, but there are no magic arrays near the Blood Hell Cave. They only protect and surround it. If the Yanhuang clan rushes to the Blood Hell Cave, the Blood Hell Cave itself will soon be destroyed. Wu Yu couldn't control where he would land when he flipped, but basically, after many times, he knew the approximate distance. He took the area near the Blood Hell Cave as the end point, and then adjusted the starting point, wanting to jump in at once, so that he would not alarm the many heaven and earth formations outside the Blood Hell Cave. Of course, this is risky. Once there is a deviation, it will definitely cause a lot of noise if it falls directly into the formation. Although Wu Yu is confident that he can jump out directly, it will be much more difficult for him to jump in again when the Ghost Flame clan is on guard. It would be best if it can be successful in one go. After Wu Yu estimated the position, the Blood Hell Cave was far away from him at this time, which required a very precise exit point, but the second level of the somersault cloud did not have this effect. It depends on luck. If he is lucky, he can go in quietly, but if he is unlucky, forget it. After adjusting, he took a deep breath and first used the magical power of the sky and earth. This time, it did not become bigger, but smaller. After becoming smaller, Wu Yu, who was only as tall as an ordinary person's calf, was faster and easier to hide. If it was Nanshan Wanjiao, it would be even more powerful. He could directly become invisible, making it more difficult for others to find him. Nanshan Wanjiao often used this magical power to watch beauties changing clothes. Go. He merged into the somersault cloud and jumped immediately. He appeared outside in a blink of an eye. At the moment of appearance, Wu Yu found that he had hit something soft but bloody. Looking closely, it was the outer wall of the blood cave. Looking closer, he found that it was just like the internal organs of an animal. It was really disgusting, and there was a lot of blood all over the body. The smell of blood in this place was really strong to the extreme. It turned out that the blood cave was not a regular sphere. Looking closer, it looked a bit like an oval stomach. Disgusting, disgusting, Ming Long couldn't help but yelled in disgust. Wu Yu's body was very small now. He observed the surroundings and found that he was lucky enough to come to the Blood Hell Cave. This was due to his experience of using the somersault cloud so many times. Of course, next time, his luck might not be so good. He estimated that he would be successful once or twice out of 10 times, which would be good. Looking around, there were many blood holes around to enter the Blood Hell Cave. There were also several Ghost Flame clan members. Although they were all weak, Wu Yu was still quite vigilant. He hid first. After feeling that there was no big problem, he drilled into one of the smaller blood holes and quickly crossed over. After about a few miles, there was a faint light in front. After going out, Wu Yu really saw a world belonging to ghost cultivators. The ghost cultivators built a city in this huge sphere. The city in front of them was about the size of the northern Cold Fairy City. However, unlike the city built in the Yanhuang ancient domain, the city here was built on the inner wall of the Blood Hell Cave, so it was particularly interesting. Wu Yu stood on this inner wall and looked up. Above his head was not the sky and the sun, but the buildings on the other inner wall, which were almost connected to everything. But the whole city was really gloomy, full of bloody smells, and very dim. There were miserable ghosts crying and wolves howling everywhere, just like the real hell. There were quite a few ghosts in the city, but it was not lively, because most people acted indifferently. There were even fights and robberies in the streets, and the attacks were very cruel. Many people hid directly in the house. It was estimated that building a defensive array on the house would be a little safer. It seems that in this Blood Hell Cave, territory is very important, because only with territory can one build a defensive formation to protect oneself and one's family. Otherwise, if one is exposed to the outside world, it is easy to end up dead in the street. However, even if there are houses, there are people who break in and kill people. Anyway, everything that Wu Yu has seen now has caused a certain impact on him. This world is too big, and there are all kinds of societies. The world before him is like a world of death. No wonder ghost cultivators are so vicious and cruel. In such an environment, they can't survive without being vicious and cruel. Only the most sinister people can survive. In such a world, walking, trading, and practicing Taoism must be done carefully, and you must not leave any money blank, otherwise you will definitely be killed. Wu Yu's target is very small now, and he is also good at hiding. Besides, the buildings in the Blood Hell Cave are dense and disordered, and it is easy to hide. In fact, it can be seen that there are many people here, but the land is limited, so the disputes over land and houses should be very fierce. As for the lava world outside, if you go up, you will be killed by the Yanhuang tribe. If you stay around the Blood Hell Cave, it will be very hot. Some ghost Yan tribes can stay outside, but there are always families and children. Once the children are born, it is impossible to survive outside. Before they reach the Yuanshen realm, it is estimated that they can't survive, so ghost cultivators must have their own territory in places like the Blood Hell Cave. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Otherwise, you will be eliminated. The living environment is so bad. This is the Yanhuang tribe who forced them in. However, the Yanhuang tribe is not wrong. The ghost cultivation style is cruel. It is against the will of heaven and earth to cultivate outside. The Yanhuang ancient domain must not let them make a mess. Moreover, the Yanhuang tribe left them a way to survive. From the perspective of the Yanhuang tribe, there is nothing wrong with the filthy race living in this forbidden land. It is really a favor that they did not exterminate the clan. Both are right, so who is wrong? This desolate and cruel world made Wu Yu doubt and even depressed. He used to think that the world was either black or white, but now he knows that everyone has a forced side. Before they were born, no one chose to become a ghost Yan tribe, just like Wu Yu did not want to choose to be immortal. When they were born, this environment taught them that they must be vicious to survive. What else can a child like a blank sheet of paper do? Wu Yu found that he thought the world was too simple. There are not only good people and bad people in this world, and it is not that the outside is white and the here is black. Everything is very complicated. Everyone has his own destiny, and no one can laugh at anyone else. There is only fighting and scrambling, and everyone is moving towards what he thinks is right. There are so many contradictions in the world, and I must stick to myself. This is my way. He took a deep breath. After entering the Blood Hell Cave, he knew what kind of impact he would endure. Right under his eyes, a member of the Ghost Flame clan broke the defensive formation of a family, moved quickly, slaughtered them directly, and then took the stolen treasures and walked away with a smile. Wu Yu was shocked and couldn't help, but such things were actually happening throughout the Blood Hell Cave, and he couldn't help. There are so many immortals in the heavenly palace. They don't care about such a bad living environment. Wu Yu thought of the heavenly palace for the first time, and thought of those legendary immortals who saved all living beings, and thought of the Jade Emperor, the Queen Mother, and so on. Suddenly, he understood a little bit what the Monkey King had said to him repeatedly, and why he always broke the rules, why he always wanted to reorganize. Was it because the heavenly palace was unfair? Wu Yu was still a mortal, he didn't dare to talk too much, but what he saw and heard today planted a seed for him, because he couldn't forget it. Those children of the Ghost Flame clan, in the midst of shrill cries, watched their parents' heads and bodies separated, and then they were also beheaded, their souls were taken away, and were sealed in other people's magic arrays. The more desperate the children were, the more powerful the power of the Taoist weapon would be. The way of heaven is unfathomable. Good and evil cannot be determined, devouring, plundering, are all contradictory. Survival or death, cruelty or pain, are all unpredictable. Since it is so complicated, I will not distinguish so many right and wrongs for now. When I become stronger, I may be able to see it clearly. He calmed down and thought of adding some content to his own way. This did not affect his persistence, but only made his vision wider. He was no longer limited to some small ways, but could see the real big way, the farther way, and understand the Monkey King more clearly. What kind of existence he is. He hid and wandered around. In fact, no one would guess that the Yanhuang tribe could enter the Blood Hell Cave, so there were not many defenses in the Blood Hell Cave. Most people were in the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, a few were in the Yuan Shen Huaxing realm, and even fewer were in the Three Disasters Asking the Way realm. It was not easy for these people around to find Wu Yu. Do you know where the ghost array guest is? Wu Yu secretly captured an existence that seemed to have a slightly higher status. He did not let the other party see him and asked a question. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 863. No. I don't know. Lying will cost you your life, Wu Yu said calmly. I really don't know. The other party burst into tears, but I know who knows. He has better information. I will take you there. Okay. With him leading the way, Wu Yu found another old man, who was stronger than the one in his hand. Wu Yu froze the one in his hand with ice and buried it deep. After about half a month, the ice would melt and it can be okay. Wu Yu used the same method to catch another old man and asked him to find out that the ghost array guests were in an area with more powerful people, which was called the Buli territory. After asking a few more people, the result was still Buletin Liu. Ghost array guest has become very famous recently, and there are a lot of discussions about him in the Bloody Hell Cave, so many people know about him, and some even know that he lives in the Night Breeze Inn in Buli domain. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. After Wu Yu confirmed many times, he also knew the direction of Buletin Liu, and was basically certain that the ghost array guest was at that place. The trouble is, there are a lot of strong people in that place. If we fight, it would be too difficult to kill him, but you can give it a try. He left this place and quickly headed towards the Buletin Li territory. In fact, what Wu Yu didn't know was that not long after he sneaked into the Blood Hell Cave, two people appeared outside the Blood Hell Cave. One of them is a petite fair-skinned woman with shoulder-length short hair, smooth and shiny, playful and cute. She is holding a lazy white cat in her arms. The white cat is sleeping, with an arrogant look on her face, as if she belongs to the whole world. Like the core. This is exactly the daughter of the Holy Master of Moyan Cave, the young Master Yezixi. The one next to him was even more mysterious. He should be a human being, but his whole body was covered with a layer of blood. He could be said to be a bloody man. The blood flowed up and down and changed on the surface of his body, making this man look much more terrifying. Uncle Dion, Lalun said, he must be hiding in the Xuanhuan cave. Please help me catch him. The bloody man stared into the depths of the Blood Hell Cave and said, it's impossible. For tens of thousands of years, no Yanhuang tribe has been able to sneak into the Blood Hell Cave without making any noise. Yezixi shook his head and said, you can't be wrong about laziness. It's very magical. However, that guy is also very magical. His name seems to be Wu Yu, right? His means of escaping are very powerful. According to legend, no magic circle can trap him. I guess that's how he got in. Okay, no problem. I'll contact a few of my friends at the Xuanhuan cave and ask them to seal the Xuanhuan cave, and then set up a dragnet to catch him. A mere little guy can't even think of escaping from our grasp. He's causing trouble. This long time is enough, the bloody man said in a deep voice. Yezixi was a little nervous and said, Uncle Dion, do you want to make such a big fuss? I just want you to catch him and let me beat him up. Whoever lets him steal my fire spirit fairy liquid, I can't kill him or hurt him. After all, he's not bad either. I just can't swallow this breath. Okay, I understand. The bloody man sent out a few communication talismans and nodded a little casually. He pondered for a moment and said to Yezixi, I have already told them that after we enter, we will start to seal the blood hell cave. Then we will catch the turtle in the jar. Okay, he. The two quickly went inside. They all ran into the blood hell cave. If you don't kill such a guy quickly, if the big plan is exposed, then you will understand. The bloody man looked at the blood hell cave with a serious expression. Uncle Dion, what are you thinking about? Your brows are furrowed, Yezixi asked curiously. No, little girl, don't worry about so much. After taking care of your business, I have other things to do. If I don't do the task well, your father will punish me, bloody man said kindly. Spanking, Yezixi smiled. Haha, the bloody man didn't say much. When he turned around, he smiled coldly. How naive. In a world like this, it's a miracle that you can teach your daughter to be like this. In the blink of an eye, they were submerged into the blood cave. Then, all the holes in the blood cave were slowly closed. From a distance, the blood cave became smooth and glowing with blood. Buletin territory. Wu Yu moved around for a long time and finally arrived at Buletin territory. At first glance, all the buildings here are taller, colder, and darker. There are green or red lanterns hanging in many places, which is very miserable. There are a lot fewer people on the streets here, and it is more peaceful, but this is because there are more powerful people here, and most people dare not approach here. The Buletin territory is still very large. It is not easy to find the Night Breeze Inn. Wu Yu also needs to hijack people to ask. He first hid in a deeper area and then found the right person. He had to find a slightly weaker person here. It's not easy to control it right away. Wu Yu asked the name of Night Breeze Inn from his mouth. The reason is that Night Breeze Inn is quite famous here, and many people from outside Xuanhuan Cave come here and live here. It is well guarded here and no outsiders will disturb you. It is a good place for practicing. There is a group of buildings in front of you, which is the Night Breeze Inn. The Night Breeze Inn is surrounded by a defensive circle. The residences inside are all moving. They look magnificent and do not look like a place belonging to the Ghost Clan. Although there was a magic circle, Wu Yu still found a gap by searching with the ghost communication technique. From the gap, he followed the guards inside the Night Wind Inn and entered. It was very quiet inside. There were hundreds of palaces in total. Wu Yu knew where there were people. In addition, he had some understanding of the ghost array guest and knew that the place where this person was generally noisy. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. There was a noisy place inside the Night Wind Inn. Wu Yu quietly went over and came to the vicinity of this palace. Looking inside, he saw that there were about 80 women gathered in the courtyard of the palace. Looking carefully, these women were not old, and their cultivation was probably around the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. Among them, there were several Yuanshen realm. The overall cultivation time was no more than 100 years. It was the most youthful and lively time. Moreover, these 100 women were all born graceful and charming, with the best figure and face, and each had their own characteristics. They were all beauties in the Ghost Flame clan. Some of the noisy sounds Wu Yu heard before came from their movement. Now they all stayed in this courtyard, their brows slightly shrunk, their faces flushed, and their bodies felt a little uneasy. However, they did not leave here, nor did they move too much, probably because they were afraid of affecting the people in the palace. Next, Lingyeji suddenly the palace door opened, and there was a middle-aged woman inside, with a serious face, very scary. She swept her eyes among the crowd, found a delicate woman, and said, "Ghost Lord favors you, and guides you to build a prosperous road. Why don't you come in quickly? There are so many women in the world who don't have this opportunity. If you weren't a little pretty, it wouldn't be your turn." Yes, Lingyeji was a little flustered, her face flushed, and she stepped in with small steps. Not long after, a voice came, very wild, not suppressed at all. "I guess they were having sex." But Wu Yu saw that someone inside was losing his vitality. After a closer look, it was indeed the ghost guest. At this time, he was doing that dirty thing with the woman who had just entered. It was full of spring, but the ghost guest had a sneer on his face and did not feel refreshed. The woman in his arms, in the midst of forgetfulness, aged rapidly, and soon her flesh and blood disintegrated, turned into white bones, and was thrown aside by the ghost guest. "Another one. It's really delicious," the ghost guest said with a smile. "I don't know what this method is, but he took the life of the weak in this way. There are more than 80 poor people outside, probably not knowing what happened inside. Some are looking forward to it, some are shy, and some are afraid." In any case, the ghost guest was found. Before Wu Yu could figure it out, another girl went in. She was a little panicked, but under the eyes of the middle-aged woman, she still went in, and then the door slammed shut. "It's really vivid, showing me the cruelty of practicing Taoism." After watching it, Wu Yu could only sneer. He didn't want to think about whether it was right or wrong, or how evil it was. Now that he had learned to let his heart decide everything, it was obvious that at this moment, his heart wanted to kill Guizhenk. This was the answer his heart gave him, without any hesitation. Perhaps, he could save a few innocent people. At this moment, he appeared on the roof, and Guizhenk was about to undress the beauty who had just entered, while the ugly old guy was admiring her on the side. "Beauty, this is really the most beautiful creation of God," Guizhenk said with emotion. Boom! At this moment, a pair of huge eyes suddenly appeared on the ground under his feet. The eyes glared at him, the flames surged, and a burst of power exploded. The nervous woman was directly blown away, including more than 80 people outside, who were also directly blown away a long distance. At this time, Guizhenk was still a little stunned. He was in the blood cave and the night wind in. This was obviously an attack from the Yanhuang clan. What was going on? While he was wondering, the ceiling had melted with flames, and another burning eye appeared above his head. It was like the eyes of the sky, examining Guizhenk. There was endless anger in these eyes. In addition to these two eyes, Guizhenk saw a person who was completely unimaginable to him. When he saw Wu Yu, there was only shock in his eyes. "It's you," Guizhenk's eyes widened. "This is the bloody cave. How could Wu Yu come when he was most refreshed?" Just when he was wondering, those eyes, with him as the center, two huge pillars of fire fell down with a bang, and the terrifying sea of fire directly engulfed him. For a moment, the painful screams of Guizhenk were heard in this fire fairyland. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 864. At the moment when the ghost array guest was most surprised, refreshed, and excited, as if he was about to become an immortal, Wu Yu suddenly appeared here, and as soon as he took action, he was in the fire wonderland. If he hadn't seen Wu Yu, Ghost Array Guest wouldn't have known that the person who attacked him would be a Yanhuang tribe. In a hurry, Wu Yu saw him sacrifice his spiritual weapon. However, Wu Yu suddenly took action and still bought some time. When the power of the fire wonderland exploded, the Ghost Array Guest's reaction was not too strong. He just used the skull chain to block in front of him, activating the defense on it. The magic circle, for a moment, trapped himself inside just like when he trapped Nanshan Wanjiao. Immediately afterwards, two different pillars of fire collided with each other in Wu Yu's fire wonderland. Even though the guest rooms in the Night Breeze Inn were equipped with many magic circles, at this time, the fire wonderland was still destroyed and evaporated into powder. The power of the Fire Jew Fairyland is quite acceptable. Wu Yu is temporarily unsure of the current situation of the ghost array guest. His resistance is very tenacious, but the hasty defense of the spiritual weapon should be broken by the Fire Jew Fairyland. The flames engulfed the ghost array guest. Burned and collided, the ghost array guest was instantly charred, but if he did not turn into flying ashes, it meant that he was not dead. Although the Fire Jew immortal realm is top-notch, Wu Yuzai Mansion's UN power is still a little behind after all. It is indeed impossible to kill a strong man in the three disaster realm at once. 10,000 Dragons Chaos Sky Devouring Formation. However, Wu Yu didn't just have one kind of attack. The moment his body's fire absolute immortal realm just fell, the attack of the sky-swallowing body immediately broke out. This magic circle shrouded the ghost array guest in it again. Under the shadow of the whip, shrouded in mist, the sky is filled with divine dragons. The black divine dragon is roaring and swimming, bringing the ultimate cold air, instantly freezing the surrounding area like the northern underworld empire. First it was extremely hot and burning, and then it turned into extremely cold in the blink of an eye. The change was really big, and the gap was extremely large. Between the extreme heat and the extreme cold, the ghost array guest cursed loudly, "How dare you break in, Xuanhuan cave, you are so brave, you boy, you are really dead this time." His voice was a little hoarse and painful. It was obvious that Wu Yu's sneak attack from the Fire Wonderland had injured him. And while he was speaking, Wu Yu didn't let go of the opportunity at all, and the sky-swallowing body directly took advantage of the victory and pursued it. Boom boom boom. The tens of thousands of divine dragons, almost at the same time, collided with the ghost array guest from all directions. The ghost array guest had just resolved the impact of the fire fairyland. In the blink of an eye, the ultimate coldness struck, and every black divine dragon brought with the coldness of the underworld, Wu Yu's sky-devouring body was mixed in, amplifying the devouring power of the magic circle. For a moment, the ghost array guest found that the heat in his body was disappearing rapidly. He was also a ghost flame tribe, whose physique is similar to that of the Yanhuang tribe, and the ice that swallows the sky is the most difficult thing for them to withstand. In an instant, tens of thousands of divine dragons rushed over and plundered all the heat around them. Wu Yu's body saw it with fiery eyes. Even though the ghost array guest resisted frantically at this time, Wu Yu seized the opportunity and in his violent storm. Under this situation, the ghost array guest had no chance to counter-attack for the time being and was continuously suppressed by Wu Yu. Thousands of dragons roar and gallop. Hoo hoo. The long dragon swept over the ghost array guest, freezing the ghost array guest until his face turned pale. Fire burned on his body, but the fire was quickly absorbed and extinguished, and ice began to condense and freeze rapidly. The power penetrated his body and merged into the deepest part of his body, continuing to freeze his muscles, bones, flesh and blood. At this time, when Wu Yu saw that the ghost array guest was suppressed by him, Wu Yu knew that under the circumstances of a sneak attack, he could really kill the ghost array guest. Before, I just wanted to give it a try, but I didn't expect it to go so well. I guess this happened to be a relatively weak moment for the ghost array guest, and Wu Yu completely disrupted his rhythm. Seeing that the ghost guest was frozen into ice by himself, and all the heat in his body was quickly swallowed by Wu Yu. So far, even if he is not dead, his whole body has fallen into such a dead state, which is considered a serious injury. At this time, he can just take advantage of the victory and pursue the victory. Therefore, he made a prompt decision and continued to freeze his opponent with the body that swallowed the sky. His body held the countless dragon sticks in the world, which had already transformed the heaven and earth. At this time, he used the violent technique to directly attack the ghost array guest. The forehead is bombed away. With this kind of force, if it hits, it will probably smash the ghost array guest to pieces. Wu Yu felt that he was very lucky, and the Wuji Tianzu was probably waving at him. However, what he didn't expect was that support would appear so quickly. Moreover, it is not only fast, but also strong. At this moment, many people came to the sky above the night breeze in. They were basically old men and ghost cultivators who were much stronger than the ghost formation guests. In the midst of shock, Wu Yu also saw Yezixi. He instantly understood that it was Yezixi who noticed that he had come in first, otherwise so many powerful people would not have arrived so quickly. When he saw her, Wu Yu knew that the people surrounding him might be the strongest people in Xuanhuan cave. Facing such opponents who were at least Chuyin's level, there was no chance of any luck, especially among them. One or two gave Wu Yu an even more terrifying feeling. If they were to fight head-on, he estimated that the other party could kill him in just a snap of his fingers. Therefore, the hair is standing on end. He now has the opportunity to kill the ghost array guest, but he knows very well that if he continues to kill the ghost array guest, then by then, he will probably be completely under the control of these strong men, whose power is quite terrible. At this time, they just came and were not in a hurry to deal with Wu Yu, but to control this area. It seems that they want to lock Wu Yu here. So the first moment he sensed the danger, Wu Yu made a prompt decision. He gave up the attack, and before the opponent arrived, he joined his clone and used the somersault cloud to merge into his body. In the moment before all the control and pressure fell on his body, he turned over. Don't think about escaping. The few people who came must have thought about Wu Yu's method. They were well prepared. At this time, they were confident that Wu Yu would stay. Moreover, at this time, even the blood hell cave was sealed. They didn't believe that Wu Yu could still walk under so many layers of magic arrays and the closure of the blood hell cave. Before they came, they must have had some understanding of Wu Yu's escape method, and had made some preparations and discussions. The moment they arrived, they directly threw several Taoist instruments on the ground and activated many talismans. These were all means to control space, lock this range, and make it impossible for Wu Yu to leave. With these people who have practiced Taoism for more than 300 years, each of them is a master-level figure of the Ghost Flame clan. They are all trying to catch Wu Yu, and the means they use are all top-notch. They are confident that with so many people taking the initiative, even if they want to catch someone of the same level as them, it is estimated that there will be no problem, not to mention a young guy like Wu Yu. Of course, they also admire Wu Yu's quick reaction. They also noticed Wu Yu's appearance and fought with the ghost array guest. They hurriedly chased after him, which inevitably leaked some traces. At this critical moment, while they were using their means, they all saw Wu Yu doing somersaults. Buzz. For a moment, something incredible happened. Wu Yu disappeared instantly. At least he disappeared in front of them. As for whether he is still in the Blood Hell Cave, it is not known for the time being. They looked at each other in a daze, their faces getting uglier than each other. Of course, it wasn't just one person who made a fool of himself, so the topic immediately turned to other things. The Blood Hell Cave is closed, so he may not be able to leave. An old man looked around and said, "Come on, if they can escape directly under our control, even if the Blood Hell Cave is closed, he can get out. I can see that his magical power has the effect of traveling through space, as if he went out from another space. How can this young man have such top magical powers? He must have a great opportunity in the ancient country of Yanhuang. Continue to close the Blood Hell Cave and see if he can get out first. Recently, it is the most critical moment for our Ghost Yan clan since ancient times. This kid has such a way to escape, so he must be wandering around. We must not let him ruin our plan." We must drive him away quickly or kill him. It's better to dig out his magical powers and Taoist skills, then we will be stronger. They argued with gloomy faces. Yazixi looked at them, a little dazed. She found that it seemed that it was not because of herself, Uncle Dion and these people that they were tracking Wu Yu. Send the order down. A Yanhuang tribe has sneaked into our territory and published Wu Yu's portrait. Order everyone to report immediately when they see Wu Yu. Those who can capture Wu Yu will be rewarded with a spiritual weapon. Finally, they made a decision. Such news will indeed make the entire Ghost Flame tribe boil, especially those who want to get the spiritual weapon. When it was confirmed that Wu Yu was not in the Blood Hell Cave after the search, many Ghost Flame tribe members in the major bases of the entire Ghost Flame tribe went out and began to look for Wu Yu's traces in the lava hell outside. The news that Wu Yu almost killed the Ghost Array guest and escaped under the pursuit of the powerful people also spread rapidly among the Ghost Flame tribe. As for Wu Yu, he had to sigh that the power of the somersault cloud was too strong. In this case, he was able to escape thrillingly, which was simply a narrow escape from death. Of course, he also felt very sorry for Wu Yu, who almost killed the Ghost Array guest. If he missed this opportunity, it might be more difficult to kill him in the future, and the Ghost Array guest would definitely not dare to leave the Blood Hell Cave again. After he came out, he saw that even the Blood Hell Cave was closed, and it was difficult to get in now. He first left the vicinity, recuperated, and then thought carefully about where his next step was. Now that the Fire Absolute Fairyland has been successful, the Ghost Array guest cannot be killed. He thought that he could only continue to explore. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 865. What Wu Yu wants most now is progress. He has just made a breakthrough in his realm. Among the four great magical powers, the Dharma Clone and the Fire Eyes have not made much progress, and the Dharma Heaven and Earth and the Somersault Cloud are still a little behind. He studies daily, but there is still a long way to go before he reaches a new realm. Thinking carefully, there are not many possibilities for a breakthrough. At this time, great patience is needed. Anyway, he failed to kill the Ghost Array guest this time, so he decided to explore this lava hell. What would be the deepest place? Is it really the 10,000 hells where ghosts and gods exist? According to legend, there are 10,000 layers of hell, and immortal ghosts and gods have existed in it for countless years. The question that Wu Yu was thinking about was the same as whether he could reach the heavenly palace by flying to the extreme in the sky. No one knew. However, he still wanted to know the answer. The sky and the earth became smaller, and he rode the somersault cloud without anyone leading the way. He went down all the way, and went in the direction where it was hottest. After he integrated the fire spirit immortal liquid into his eyes, he found that he was more sensitive to heat, flames, and temperature. Any changes would not escape his eyes. When he went down this time, Wu Yu clearly felt that the surroundings became noisy, and the number of people seemed to be increasing. And these people, Wu Yu heard from a distance, most of them appeared here for Wu Yu. For example, at this moment, he could see that there was a group of ghost cultivators in front of him, who were working together to arrange a magic array. The magic array was already halfway arranged and could not be used for the time being. Now this group of ghost cultivators were drawing the major components of the magic array, arranging the array base, and drawing the basic magic array that formed the large heaven and earth array. They were busy. It can be seen that if their magic array is formed, the power will definitely be not small. Hurry up and try to finish it within 3 hours. We don't know where the Yanhuang tribe member named Wu Yu is. Is it possible for us to run into him? It depends on luck. However, as long as we catch him, we can get a high-level spiritual weapon awarded by the Holy Lord of the Blood Hell Cave. That is not a simple high-level spiritual weapon. So many people have come out from various bases to set up suppression and binding arrays. With so many competitors, whether we can succeed really depends on luck. That's right, we brothers will try our luck. If we are lucky, it will be amazing. They were communicating with each other, but their hands were not idle at all. What happened to the Yanhuang tribe? Why did so many big shots get so angry? It is said that they sneaked into the blood cave. They almost killed the ghost array guest. Is it because we, the ghost Yan tribe, lost face? It should be, but they directly issued a bounty, made a big fuss, and let so many people come out. It is indeed a bit too much for Wu Yu. However, we don't need to care so much. Let's concentrate on setting our traps and wait for Wu Yu to take the bait. We, the ghost Yan tribe, have set up a net of heaven and earth again. There are so many magic arrays. Those Yanhuang tribe dare to come to such a deep place. We will tell them that they will never return. What's this? One day, our ghost Yan tribe will escape from this ghost place, take back everything that belongs to us on the fertile land of the Yanhuang ancient domain, and establish our cultivation empire. For so many years, we have never forgotten our deep desires. All this will come, as long as we are strong enough. It seems that when talking about this matter, the ghost Yan tribe will have bloodshot eyes and have a special fighting spirit. Wu Yu could understand that this was the greatest desire of their entire race. They hated the Yanhuang clan, and the ghost Yan clan had an irresistible will in this regard. Wu Yu passed these people and went down to see more ghost Yan clan. Some were patrolling to find him, some had already set up a magic circle and waited for him to take the bait, and some were still urgently setting up a magic circle. Basically, everyone he met was discussing. I just sneaked into the blood hell cave and injured the ghost array guest. Is it necessary to hunt me down with such a big fanfare? Could it be that the ghost array guest is someone of the blood hell cave Saint Lord? According to what Wu Yu learned, this seems unlikely. If so, the ghost array guest would go directly to the Saint Lord and would not have to stay at the Nightwind Inn. Or is it that Yezixi, who hates me for taking away the fire spirit immortal liquid, is looking for the elders to retaliate against me? That's even more wrong. She can find me herself, as long as she brings the Wanhee cat and the strong, and there is no need to make such a big fanfare. Wu Yu was very suspicious. However, he was alert and did not move quickly, so he rarely strayed into the magic array. Now he had the art of communicating with the spirits and the fire eyes that were better at observing. The general magic array traps could not hide from his eyes. Although these ghost flame tribes are scattered around here and there are many people have come out from the bases of the major ghost flame tribes, but it is obvious that the blood hell cave cannot trap me. How can they catch me? This is another doubt of Wu Yu. He will not give up until he can figure it out. Could it be that they want you to see this kind of battle, feel awe, retreat in the face of difficulties, leave here, and return to your Yanhuang tribe's territory? In the end, Ming Long, who was knowledgeable, gave Wu Yu an answer. Wu Yu thought carefully and said in a deep voice, "It makes sense. Normally, when I see such a magnificent battle, there are people everywhere to capture me. If I come here just for the ghost array guest, I have to retreat in the face of difficulties and leave here first." He estimated that based on the abilities of the previous group of people from Xuanhuan Cave, they would obviously know that although there were many people outside to arrest Wu Yu, even they couldn't control them, and these people were even less controllable. Even those who are capable will not take action because of spiritual tools. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. But a bigger question arises, why are they so anxious to kick me out? God knows. Maybe they are setting up a conspiracy against the Yanhuang clan. Anyway, they have set it up countless times over the past countless years, and every time they failed. In short, the fate of the Guiyan clan is to fight. Here the most common thing that happens is to think of all kinds of weird ways to counterattack. Wu Yu thought for a while. He was indeed curious about what kind of arrangements the other party might have, but it was obviously not suitable now. If there was no Xuanhuan cat, he could try again. Another point is that there are still many strong people in the Ghost Flame clan. If he encounters someone who can control himself, it will be troublesome, so he still has to keep a low profile. You want me to leave, but you won't. Wu Yu did not take the initiative to explore what they were doing, nor did he leave. He followed the original plan and went deep into the lava hell in a low profile, occasionally using somersault clouds to change positions to prevent the Xuanhuan cat from finding him. I don't know what method Xuanhuan cat used to find me. As he went all the way down, he really found that it felt like the entire Ghost Flame clan was coming out in full force. If he belonged to any of the 8 legions and encountered so many Ghost Flame clan at this time, he could kill them all along the way. Yes, it is estimated that with the record obtained, he will soon become a dragon general. The temperature of the surrounding magma was still rising, and the Giyan tribe they encountered became more powerful. Wu Yu discovered that after so many years of precipitation, there were still quite a few strong men from the Giyan tribe. I don't know how many there are among the major bases. He basically has the ability to establish a small monastic empire in the Yanhuang ancient territory. Regardless of this, he continued to go deeper, not at a fast pace. 10 days later, he found that there were finally fewer people around him. That was because the magma nearby could be said to be extremely hot. Even the Ghost Flame clan had not reached a high level. It is estimated that it will be difficult to hold on. The golden magma, like molten iron, was surging everywhere. Wu Yu had now entered the deep sea. Even with his fiery eyes, it was difficult to penetrate the magma and see too far away. With fewer people and fewer magic circles, he felt freer. He even looked into the depths of the lava hell. I should have passed through all the bases of the Giyan clan. Next, if I go deeper, it will be a place that even the Giyan clan cannot reach. I don't know how many people from the Yanhuang clan have been to this place. Wu Yu looked at it. Looking down, he said with emotion. Exploring the unknown world made him extremely excited. Basically without thinking much, he continued to delve deeper. The temperature of the magma here was not that the Giyan tribe didn't want to go down, but that even they couldn't bear the temperature near Wu Yu. Temperature. Suddenly, Wu Yu saw a huge thing deep in the magma, a bit like a huge, pitch-black sphere. He became vigilant, because this was probably the base of the Ghost Flame clan, and he thought he had passed through all the bases. He staggered a little and continued going down. Along the way, including the Xuanhuan cave, he saw a total of 3 bases of the Ghost Flame clan. They were basically about the same size as the Xuanhuan cave. They looked a bit strange. One of them looked a bit like it is a mountain with 5 peaks. Nothing can be seen on the other one, and the one in front of me is also a sphere, but it is too far away and cannot be seen clearly for the time being. However, when Wu Yu got closer, he discovered that the space was more than 10 times the size of the Blood Hell cave. This was probably quite big, and it should be in the deepest part of the lava hell. Although he couldn't see clearly yet, Wu Yu was certain that it should be the Xuanhuan cave. Because Xuanhuan cave is the core of the Ghost Flame clan, it is said to be at the deepest position. He never expected that he would encounter Xuanhuan cave by such a coincidence. Curious, he continued to get closer. When he saw the appearance of the Xuanhuan cave, he was shocked, because the appearance of the Xuanhuan cave turned out to be a huge, pitch-black skull. What a big skull, Wu Yu was shocked. The skull looked lifelike, just like the skull that appeared after a real person died. But how big a giant must such a big skull be? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 866. Wu Yu couldn't help but get closer to see. Of course, the closer he got, the more he found that this skull was too real. Although it was pitch black, like ink, The outline of the bones should be basically the same as that of ordinary people. It didn't look like it was carved or forged, but like it grew naturally. The Blood Hell Cave was the size of the extreme north cold fairy city, and this should be the place of the Demon Hell Cave, which was 10 times larger than the Blood Hell Cave, basically close to the Hades. Such a huge skull city really gave Wu Yu a huge shock. There should be many wonderful places in this world, at least more than Wu Yu imagined. There are probably many places like the ancient Immortal Road, the Other World, the Lava Hell, etc. There are also countless relics of inheritance left by ancient cultivators, treasures of ancient countries that have been destroyed, etc. Judging from the records, many of them have not yet been discovered. Although he was quite curious about the Devil Hell Cave, from the experience of the Blood Hell Cave, it was obviously inappropriate to rush in, and it might even be life-threatening. So after observing for a while, Wu Yu prepared to leave and bypass the Devil Hell Cave to continue going down. The eyes, ears, mouth, and nose of the skull of the Devil Hell Cave are the entrances and exits of the Devil Hell Cave. You can see that there are many strong men of the Ghost Flame clan guarding it. It is at least much more difficult to enter than the Blood Hell Cave. This is the most important base of the Ghost Flame clan. I don't know how many defensive arrays and attack arrays are arranged around it. I wonder what level of strength Yezixi's father, the Holy Lord of the Devil Hell Cave, has. Ghosts cannot become immortals, but when they are cultivated to the extreme, they can become ghosts and gods. I wonder if there is a possibility of becoming a ghost and god. Wu Yu was a little curious. The top people in this world of Yama are this group of people. Luo Bin has already reached this level. Immortal beasts will naturally become immortals. The situation of demons is more complicated. After surviving the catastrophe of heaven and earth, some demons go to hell and become demon gods. Some demons may also ascend to heaven and become real immortal beasts, completely transformed. The immortal beasts in the mortal world are not of the same level as those in heaven. The immortal beasts in the mortal world are mainly bloodlines, and there are not many of them. Immortals, ghosts, demon gods, and immortal beasts are all life levels that are above mortal cultivators, ghost cultivators, and demons, and they are also Wu Yu's goals. After crossing the demon cave, it is estimated that there will be no more Ghost Flame clan. With this magma temperature, the Ghost Flame clan who has not reached the realm of Taoism will not be able to come down at all. Going down further, as expected, there are basically no magic arrays encountered. The Ghost Flame clan does not need to arrange defenses here. Their enemies are only the Yanhuang clan, and this is already behind their base camp. For Wu Yu, this place is unbearable. While he is bearing it purely with his indestructible body, he also has to assist with some purple mansion energy, so that he can feel a little more comfortable. He wanted to see how deep this lava hell was, whether it was getting hotter and hotter, and where his limit was. Or, to see what was at the deepest point. With this feeling, he was challenging his limit and going deeper and deeper. This kind of depth was almost like going to heaven. At the end, it was even more impossible for the Ghost Flame clan to exist. This was a deep sea of magma. In addition to magma, the things that could exist here were basically made stronger by the nourishment of the hot spiritual energy over the years. Even ordinary rocks could have spiritual patterns. Go deeper, go deeper. Wherever the limit was, Wu Yu would go there. When his indestructible body could no longer bear it and he would probably die if he went down, he would probably go back. Most of the time, Wu Yu was persisting, just like he was persisting in fusing the fire spirit immortal liquid. His tenacious fighting spirit was his greatest reliance and weapon. Going down all the time, Wu Yu didn't know how much he had advanced, nor how much time had passed. Anyway, the lava hell still had no end. From this position, the Ghost Flame clan can only be regarded as living in the middle of the lava hell, not deep at all. Wu Yu is not sure what the current position is, maybe it is still in the middle. Several days have passed, and this place is completely deserted, even demons and gods do not exist, there is a dead silence, and boiling magma is everywhere. At this time, Wu Yu basically can't bear it anymore. He found that he may not be able to reach the bottom. I don't know if there are other people who are deeper than me. He stopped to rest and observed the surroundings with his fire eyes. After the fusion of the fire spirit immortal liquid, the insight of the fire eyes was further improved, especially the sensitivity to hot things. When he was in this position, he used the fire eyes to observe the surroundings, and suddenly found that there was a slight change in a certain direction. A local area there seemed to be particularly hot, a little beyond the normal value of this range. Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid, Wu Yu had merged with Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid before, so his eyes were quite sensitive to it at this time. When he came to this position, he quickly sensed that there was something similar to his own fire eyes in that direction. There was a certain possibility that it would be Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid. Although the Fire Absolute Fairyland had been successful now, Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid had always been of great use to Wu Yu. After all the awareness, he gave up going down and went to the area that his eyes saw. He was very fast, controlling the somersault cloud. The closer he got to that place, the stronger the feeling in his eyes became. When the Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid met, he did feel excited, as if he had found a kindred spirit. However, the Fire Spirit Fairy Liquid is also particularly naughty. At this time, it is transferring in the magma at a rapid speed, like a fish swimming in the deep sea. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Whoosh whoosh. Wu Yu had already heard the sound and quickly chased after him. Sure enough, he saw the Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid. The fiery red liquid was moving rapidly through the air. It was extremely cheerful. In terms of volume, it was much larger than the one Wu Yu found last time. There is even more Fire Spirit Fairy Liquid, nearly twice as much. Call. Wu Yu immediately chased after him, and the speed of the somersault cloud was not low. However, in the depths of this scorching lava hell, his speed was still greatly affected, and the Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid fled very quickly after seeing him. This chase was not that easy. Fortunately, there are no competitors at this time. The Fire Spirit Fairy Liquid changes everywhere, and it would be easy to lose it if it were anyone else, but Wu Yu is different. His fiery eyes are always locked on each other. Although the opponent is very fast, the distance is getting closer. The only trouble is that the Fire Spirit Fairy Liquid is going diagonally downward in a certain direction. This meant that Wu Yu had to continue deep into the lava hell to catch him. In fact, at this level, Wu Yu definitely didn't care anymore. He gritted his teeth and endured this. The temperature burns flesh and blood. Keep chasing. Boom. Wu Yu's advance even caused the magma to surge in this deep magma seabed. The deep sea was disturbed by Wu Yu. This Fire Spirit Immortal Liquid was too flexible. Wu Yu came close to it several times, but failed to lock it with the beaming Emperor K. The key is that it doesn't know which path it has taken. The more it proceeds, the burning of Wu Yu's flesh and blood from the surrounding environment increases rapidly. His skin has been burned black. Although it continues to regenerate, there will always be a moment. The burning speed exceeds the regeneration speed. Then, there may be trouble. This situation forced Wu Yu's speed to decrease. This depressed him. The meat in your mouth is about to fly away. He was a little unwilling to give in and continued to burst out with speed and control the somersault cloud impact. Boom. Suddenly there was a huge roar and a wave of magma was set off. Chase. Chase. Wu Yu did not notice the changes in the surrounding environment while chasing. In fact, in this lava hell, there are very few people coming to such a deep place, and it is very vast, so in fact, many places are empty. No one has been to the area where Wu Yu is now. Suddenly, he felt that the scorching heat really exceeded his limit, slowing down his speed again. The fire spirit fairy liquid took advantage of this opportunity to slip forward, and suddenly, it seemed as if it had disappeared. How is that possible? Wu Yu quickly chased after him, forcing himself to endure the pain in his body. After a closer look, he suddenly found that the fire spirit fairy liquid had disappeared, but when he went there, something strange appeared. It seemed to be a huge. The glass bottle mouth is round in shape, and this is where the fire spirit fairy liquid entered just now. Is there a glass bottle suspended deep in the lava hell? Although this glass bottle is transparent, nothing can be seen clearly inside. It still feels full of magma, and the same is true when looking down from the bottle mouth. It is obviously a mysterious thing. Although the fire spirit fairy liquid entered the mouth of the lamp, Wu Yu was not in a hurry to get in. Instead, he wandered around the huge glass bottle. Later he discovered that it was actually a lamp, and it was similar to the kerosene bottle that a mortal would hold. Part of it is transparent but you can't see clearly inside, but you can see a lot of cracks. Now this glass cup has been broken. From those broken cracks, you can vaguely feel the heat waves spurting out, as if there is extremely hot inside. Something. Recalling that the fire spirit immortal liquid had been put in just now, Wu Yu suddenly felt a little excited, and some imaginations flashed through his mind. Among them, Ming Tong was the first to say, could this be the container containing the fire spirit immortal liquid? Well, could it be that this is something that fell from the heavenly court? Such a large glass cup can only be from the heavenly court. Is there still a lot of fire spirit fairy liquid in it? Doesn't belong to the mortal world. Could it be because of this broken glass cup? This idea is of course extremely exciting, and so is Wu Yu. Of course, he knows that places like this are usually accompanied by danger, so he still approaches the entrance of the glass lamp cautiously. Although the other parts were broken, it was not enough for him to enter. For the fastest updated website for this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 867. At this time, he was close to the mouth of the glass cup. This should be very close to the things in the glass cup, so it is almost the hottest place Wu Yu has ever endured. The heat wave is overwhelming. Standing here, the flesh and blood are burning, constantly burning red and charred. The lava hell is so big and so deep, and it is still intact here, which means that other people should not have come here. As for me, if I hadn't merged the fire spirit immortal liquid, if I hadn't found the fire spirit immortal liquid just now and chased here, I wouldn't have come here by accident. As for whether it is luck or crisis, you will know after entering. At worst, I can escape with the somersault cloud. So Wu Yu merged the somersault cloud into his body and was ready to escape at any time. After all, this broken glass cup was huge and ancient, as if it was the most powerful thing in the world. The things used by the 10-foot-tall giant exuded an ancient, primitive, and wild atmosphere, and also a sense of nobility and sublimity, as if they were not from the human world, but there were no spiritual patterns or anything. Who knows what this is? After the preparations were completed, he first threw some debris in, but there was no reaction. Then he separated one of his clones from the law, and a hair turned into a Wu Yu, who entered the glass before Wu Yu. As soon as he stepped in, a surging heat wave hit him in front of him. This roll directly evaporated Wu Yu's clone into smoke, and he still didn't see anything. Wu Yu could only enter with his body. But he had expected it in his heart, knowing that the glass was very hot inside. At this time, he rushed in with all his strength. At that moment, it was indeed like a mortal falling into a boiling oil pan, so hot that his whole body was about to explode. That feeling was not something that ordinary people could bear. Even a cultivator at the realm of asking for the way would probably have to give up at this time. Wu Yu at least managed to hold on for a moment. When he looked inside carefully with his fiery eyes, even just a moment was enough. In a trance, Wu Yu saw that there was still half a bottle of fiery red liquid left in the broken glass cup, still at the bottom of the bottle. This glass cup was very large, and half a bottle sounded like a small amount, but in fact, to Wu Yu, it was like a lake, and it was a fiery red, burning, and boiling lake. The key point is that with his eyes that had merged with the fire spirit immortal liquid, how could he not see that this half bottle of liquid as big as a lake was all fire spirit immortal liquid? The fire spirit immortal liquid as big as a lake was stored at the bottom of this glass cup, like a huge monster lurking at the bottom of the bottle. On this lake, there are hundreds of small balls of fire spirit immortal liquid jumping, like small fish jumping out of the lake, darting around. In other words, the fire spirit immortal liquid that attracted Wu Yu here just now is one of these jumping liquids, and the fire spirit immortal liquid that Wu Yu merged before is also a part of the liquid that jumped out from here. Wu Yu's mood at this time can't even be described as shocking. The scorching heat he endured here was too terrible, so he quickly withdrew from the glass lamp and stood outside, so that he could calm down and make himself calmer. Oh my God, what is that? Don't tell me it's a bottle of fire spirit immortal liquid. Ming Long couldn't see as clearly as Wu Yu, so he was extremely excited at this time, quacking and dancing. Yes, that's right. Wu Yu calmed himself down and gave her a positive answer. How is it possible? How can the mortal world have so many fire spirit immortal liquids? According to rumors, this is not something from the human world. Could it be that this glass cup fell from the heaven? If so, it can be explained. Things that fell from the heaven, even if it is an immortal's spittoon, are rare treasures. Hurry up and pack up this glass cup. Ming Long was so excited that he was a little incoherent. What are you packing? It would be strange if this thing could fit the Sumuru bag. The Sumuru bag could definitely not withstand such a thing. The fire spirit immortal liquid alone could burn the Sumuru bag to ashes inside. Yes, I thought too much. However, you must take so much fire spirit immortal liquid for yourself. It will be very useful to you, Ming Long said, so excited that it seemed as if she was Wu Yu. What is the use? Wu Yu asked. Nonsense, of course it is to upgrade the Vajra indestructible body to the 5th level. The fire spirit immortal liquid allowed me to achieve the fire absolute fairyland. Can it also improve the Vajra indestructible body? Wu Yu was not sure before, but now that Ming Long said it, it is definitely possible. Of course, this is not nonsense. If the fire spirit immortal liquid was not too little before, I would not let you use it on the fire eyes and golden pupils. This fire spirit immortal liquid is most suitable for body training. I heard that some cultivators who have just become immortals also use this fire spirit immortal liquid to train their bodies, and the effect is particularly good. And for you, the amount in it is definitely enough. There is only one such fire spirit immortal liquid in the Yama world. If you miss it, you may never find anything in the Yama world that can continue to improve your Vajra indestructible body. The fire spirit immortal liquid, which was as big as a small fish before, has already given Wu Yu enough headaches. Now when he thinks about the fact that he needs a lake of fire spirit immortal liquid below to improve the realm of the Vajra indestructible body, he can't help but feel a little scared and his whole body aches. Now one can imagine what kind of torture he will endure next. However, Wu Yu was still happy and excited. He didn't expect that exploring the depths of this lava hell would yield such a huge harvest. If the Vajra indestructible body could continue to improve, then his physical advantage would continue to return, and he would be stronger and more immortal. And all of this was what he had dreamed of and what he longed for. He went in to take a look again, confirmed it once, and found that it was indeed true. There was too much fire spirit immortal liquid inside. The heat contained in these fire spirit immortal liquids was much stronger than the materials used by Wu Yu to achieve the Dragon King Buddha's indestructible body, and the crystal core of the fire source Crystal Beast King. They were not at the same level at all. This was something from the gods, something from the heavens. For Wu Yu, The obstacle to his continued improvement of the Vajra indestructible body is not the spell, but the materials and the patience. These two are equally important. Now that the materials are available, and they are unexpected, they may be divine objects from the heavenly palace. The only thing missing is a process of endurance and transformation. Often this process will intercept many people. The Vajra indestructible body is not something that everyone can cultivate successfully. Before, there was only a little fire spirit immortal liquid, but now there is so much. Wu Yu can fully imagine that it is very likely that he will be burned to ashes as soon as he goes down, and there is no need to transform at all. Once successful, the benefits are huge. Being able to reach the 5th level, basically, this method against the sky, he has succeeded halfway. Being able to achieve half in the mortal world is already quite outstanding. After all, due to the limited resources for cultivation, it is difficult for the mortal world to encounter the divine objects that Wu Yu is encountering now. This Vajra indestructible body is what Wu Yu got from the Monkey King and the fighting god Buddha at the beginning. To succeed, you must first overcome this psychological barrier. Wu Yu stared at the door of the glass lamp for a long time, but he was not in a hurry to go in. He needed to adjust his heart. If he was not in the most passionate and fearless state, he would only hurt himself if he went in rashly. At your level, the indestructible body of Vajra has undergone tremendous changes at each level. It is a leap forward improvement. The fire spirit immortal liquid is very manic and scorching, but it is rumored that there are many things hotter than this in the heavenly palace. Your life is destined to be full of many impossible challenges. You don't need a smooth road to cultivation. What you need is to move forward, be fearless, be reborn after death, and reverse everything. Ming Long once had such difficulties, so at this time, she knew clearly what Wu Yu was thinking. Sometimes the thoughts in his heart were the Tao. The Tao must be straight, straightforward, firm, and self-centered. At least for Wu Yu now, it was like this. This is the lava hell, and he needs to hurry up to make any decision. Think about it, if you succeed, you can upgrade the Dragon King Buddha indestructible body to the 6 realms Heavenly King Buddha indestructible body. The 6 realms Heavenly King Buddha indestructible body can forge your body into 6 worlds, one body, into 6 worlds. In each world, there is a Heavenly King Buddha sitting. The body is like 6 worlds. As long as the world is not destroyed, you will not die. This is almost like having 6 lives. The enemy can only destroy one of your worlds when they kill you once. There are 5 worlds inside, and after the war, the 6 worlds can be restored again to form the most perfect state of Vajra. The body turning into a world is already the most advanced part of body forging. It is said that only immortals can do it, and you are in the realm of Yuan Shen, and it is a 6-fold world. 6-fold world, 6 The 6 heavenly King Buddhas are Om Mani Padme Hum. They are the foundation of the 6-fold world. If the foundation is not destroyed, the world will not perish. Only if your 6 heavenly King Buddha bodies die instantly, you will die. Such physical strength and resilience are indeed much stronger than your current Dragon King Buddha indestructible body. And the opportunity for all this lies in these fire spirit immortal liquids. This may be one of the best opportunities you have ever encountered in your life. Whether you can grasp it depends on you. Although you still have the body of swallowing the sky and superhuman talent, you are still younger. Back then, I was almost at your time, with the most magical means, but my heart was higher than the sky, I was not desperate enough, not cautious enough, and finally ended up like this. Alas. Speaking of the latter, Ming Long sighed. She naturally knew that her situation was very similar to Wu Yu's. To be honest, now is the time when you are most likely to end up like me. For geniuses like us, it is countless times more difficult to survive than for others. Especially since you are a person who never gives up. So, if you want to survive, you must surpass yourself. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 868. Go beyond yourself. In fact, along the way of spiritual cultivation, the most difficult thing is never to surpass other geniuses. The most difficult thing to surpass is always oneself. Because by transcending yourself, you can make progress and achieve a deeper level. After all, everyone's efforts and talents are limited. It is the most difficult to constantly surpass this limit and break through the limits again and again. To surpass oneself, to be stronger and to have a deeper state, naturally speaking, is to surpass others. The indestructible body is not a treasure within reach. Even if you have the secret, the most difficult thing is to transcend the limits of your will and remain firm in your heart amidst the most terrifying tests. Wu Yu stared at the glass cup, his gaze getting deeper and deeper. In the depth, there is also an increasingly firm confidence. From the beginning to now, the challenges have been constantly escalating. The last time he had the indestructible body of Dragon King Buddha, it was a difficult challenge. However, for Wu Yu now, that is nothing. This is a kind of transcendence. Things that were once difficult to do are now no longer fearful. When Wu Yu stood here, he was thinking that maybe after many years, he would encounter so many fire spirit fairy liquids again, and he would be able to touch them as much as he wanted. Even swimming in it or something. Compared to now, that is what he wants to transcend. Ming Long's failure and her advice at this time made Wu Yu clear, persistent, and determined. Some opportunities were missed, fearful, and would never come again in his life. Don't look at me now, I have endless glory, but death is a matter of an instant, and I may lose everything in an instant. So, as long as possible, I must seize every opportunity to surpass myself. I want to become stronger. This was his unshakable will at this moment. After shouting out the last words, he struggled for a period of time. At this moment, he stepped into this glass lamp without hesitation to endure the most terrifying heat wave in the world. Also, maybe I don't have much time. After all, Wan He Cat can find my location. If I stay in one place for a long time, she may come to my door. This is also the reason why Wu Yu did not make a firm decision as soon as possible. When he stepped into the glass cup, he felt as if he had entered another world. The broken glass cup had a sealing effect on the heat wave of the fire spirit fairy liquid. It was precisely because of the seal that Wu Yu could not touch it even if he did not touch it. The fire spirit fairy liquid will be steamed immediately just like a mortal entering a steamer. It is only because of the indestructible body that is constantly being reborn that the physical life is not completely lost. If it were anyone else, the inside of this glass lamp would be an absolutely forbidden area, and you would definitely die if you entered. However, this did not stop him from digging deep into the bottom of the glass bottle. About a quarter to a third of the broken glass cup was filled with fire spirit fairy liquid. Looking down, it looked red, and it was generally quite calm. When forging the indestructible body of Vajra, the mouth of the bottle should be sealed to prevent the fire spirit fairy liquid from splashing out. Thinking of this, he first retreated to the mouth of the bottle, and then arranged a magic circle inside. This magic circle didn't need to be too big, so it didn't take much time. Its main function was to prevent the fire spirit fairy liquid from splashing out, if someone wanted to destroy it. But it can be destroyed easily. Then, Wu Yu asked his sky-swallowing body to hold the beaming Emperor K and guard it outside. If anyone came here, the sky-swallowing body could still guard it for a while. In this way, Wu Yu no longer has any distractions, and his mind is entirely on his body. As long as no one comes outside, the sky-swallowing body only needs to sit cross-legged at the mouth of the bottle, without spending any energy. Fire spirit immortal liquid now, he was sweating profusely, and his eyes were filled with the fiery red liquid. As Wu Yu came closer, the fiery red liquid seemed to sense his threat and began to fluctuate slightly. When it fluctuates, the inside of the glass cup will be even more scorching in an instant, making people feel hot all over. The Buddha, the heavenly king of the six realms, has an indestructible body. This is the fifth level of the indestructible body. One body, six worlds, immortality, breaking through the world and being reborn. If the body is the world, how big should the body be? There is no doubt that Wu Yu has an unprecedented desire for this new realm of indestructible body. He is not afraid of tests. Compared with tests, he wants to get a stronger self. In fact, a large part of his combat effectiveness is based on the physical strength brought by the indestructible body of Vajra. Now, the indestructible body of Dragon King Buddha has not improved for a long time. Wu Yu is in urgent need of a more terrifying body. The opportunity he had dreamed of appeared in front of him, and there was no possibility of giving up. At this moment, his body and mind were in harmony, his eyes were blazing, and he used the fire spirit fairy liquid fused in his eyes as an opportunity for fusion. This is a very important point, fire spirit fairy. Liquids are spiritual things. They will think that Wu Yu is of the same kind, so they will not go crazy. Once he becomes crazy, Wu Yu will easily be burned to death, leaving nothing behind. At this moment, he must remain bold and cautious, and he must be slow. He slowly lowered his gaze and approached the extremely hot fire spirit fairy liquid with his own eyes. There was a huge difference between the small ball of fire spirit fairy liquid before and the lake now. Hoo-hoo! The heat wave rolled, and the flesh and blood were constantly blackened and regenerated. This process accelerated the transformation of the indestructible body of Dragon King Buddha, and his body would become stronger. However, this kind of progress could not compare with the huge transformation of breaking through a level. That is to sprint to the fifth level, the sixth level of the immortal King Buddha's body. Therefore, what Wu Yu wants is not to transform in the steamer, but to challenge the fire spirit immortal liquid. Therefore, at this time, he went down without hesitation and used his body to touch the fire spirit fairy liquid. His body was stronger than his eyes before. For him, even his eyes had withstood the fire spirit fairy liquid, so what? What is impossible? This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Approach slowly, approach, touch. At the moment of actual contact, Wu Yu could only say that even death would not be as terrifying as forging a body in this fire spirit fairy fluid. That taste is simply excruciatingly painful. This kind of pain can make Wu Yu forget all his previous determination and passion, turn him into a grandson in an instant, escape from here, and run away in a hurry. At this time, he never dares to come in again. How ambitious he was before, now he is like a grandson. He was like a boaster and had forgotten all about it. This did not mean that he was not determined or tenacious enough. In fact, in this respect, he believed that there were few in the entire Jambu world who dared to endure hardships more than him. All this is because the fire spirit fairy liquid is so terrifying. A mortal being thrown into a hot, boiling oil pan, fried until he was thoroughly cooked, and his whole body was scorched black. This must be how Wu Yu felt now. Who created this indestructible body? It's so humming terrifying at this time, Wu Yu just wanted to scold his mother. Moreover, he wanted to escape. No matter how tenacious his will was, he would be burned away by this devilish thing. But the problem was that the moment he came into contact with the fire spirit fairy liquid, the fire spirit fairy liquid splashed directly. Wrap him directly and wrap him to the bottom of the bottle. At this time, he sank into the depths of the lake of fire spirit fairy liquid, as if the only thing waiting for him was death. His spirit was now broken by pain and hardship, but unfortunately what's more, there's no chance of regret. In cultivating Taoism, there will always be a moment when all the persistence in the heart is completely destroyed. No matter how tough a person is, when he encounters a situation that exceeds the limit of what he can bear, he can turn into a defeated weakling, fleeing in panic, and his heart collapses. Wu Yu is such a person now, but again, it's not that he is not strong enough. Resilience, even Minglong is sure of this. All I can say is that this method of physical training is really terrible. There is no way that any mortal can survive it here in the mortal world. It seems that the only thing waiting for Wu Yu at this moment is death. The only way he can think of now is to let the sky-swallowing body reach inside with the Beiming Emperor's palace before the body dies. Wu Yu's body was fished out. Otherwise, Wu Yu doesn't know how long this charred body, which is almost shattered to pieces, or is gradually vaporizing, can last 10 breaths? 3 breaths? At this moment, it can be said to be the most terrifying nightmare of a lifetime. Even a 10,000th of a breath feels like it has passed as long as a year. Death is so close at this moment. On the side of the sky-swallowing body, they made a decisive decision, but first they had to break the magic circle that Wu Yu had arranged to prevent the fire spirit fairy liquid from splashing. When the Beiming Emperor was about to stab him, a bright flame suddenly came from the side. Fang rushed towards the body that swallowed the sky. The flame was like the bite of a giant beast, swallowing up the sky-swallowing body in the blink of an eye. This sudden attack completely delayed Wu Yu's time. When his sky-swallowing body tore the flame apart, he suddenly saw people appearing around him. Killed the enemy. All I can say is that this enemy appeared at the right time. It is when Wu Yu needs time the most. With such a delay, even for a moment, Wu Yu's body will return to the west, and this time, for his body, is actually quite long, because he is in pain. Middle. The sky-swallowing body could clearly see the appearance of the enemy at once. It was a large fiery red fish with golden scales all over its body that shone like dragon scales. The key was that there were 4 strong limbs and claws on its abdomen. The claws are like those of a beast, and there is a tentacle-like thing extending from the top of its head. The top of the tentacle is burning like a wick, like the fish is holding a lantern. It looks very interesting, but ignoring the terrifying nature of this enemy would be fatal. Lamplight beast, Wu Yu had seen this kind of all things spirit in the lava hell. It was also carrying a lantern-like thing and had thick limbs. In this scorching environment, the all things spirit was born directly from heaven and earth. But the ones I saw before were relatively weak and only the size of a palm. I have never seen this thick lantern beast in front of me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 869. /U003C/strong/U003 Effie's lamplight beast is obviously much stronger than the one Wu Yu encountered before. The flame just now also posed a certain degree of threat to Wu Yu's heaven-devouring body. The most troublesome thing is that at this critical moment, there is more than one lamplight beast. Wu Yu has seen that there are many lights in the magma behind this lamplight beast. Although there is a certain distance, the lanterns on their heads are very dazzling, and the light has penetrated here. These lamplight beasts are coming rapidly, and Wu Yu has no time. His heaven-devouring body must break through quickly and rescue Wu Yu from it. Remember the domain name of the site Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Those lamplight beasts are very irritable. At this time, they swarm towards Wu Yu's heaven-devouring body. Some of them were still guarding the bottle mouth of the glass. Obviously, they regarded the glass as their own. No wonder there are spirits of all things in such a deep place. It is obvious that this group of light beasts found the glass lamp here, and then continued to grow under the nourishment of the fire spirit liquid, so they are much stronger than other light beasts. Many spirits of all things are very mysterious. Now it is estimated that they are trying to protect their glass lamps, so of course they have to fight with Wu Yu. They were probably wandering around before, and they only realized that someone had invaded after the glass lamp moved. The appearance of the light beast, even if it was only for a moment, had a huge impact on Wu Yu. Because, in this case, if this time is delayed, his body has missed the time to be rescued. At the moment when the light beast appeared, before dying, Wu Yu changed his mind in extreme depression. Before, he thought there was still a possibility of escaping first, thinking that he could regroup and come again. But now, death is pressing on his forehead, and his heaven-devouring body wants to drag him out. First, he has to knock away those light beasts and rush in. It takes a little time, which is enough time for Wu Yu to die several times. In other words, his hope is gone. The fire spirit immortal liquid defeated his heart and hope. So at this moment, Wu Yu changed his mind in the most extreme depression, from come next time to I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well fight to death. Since death is already destined, there is no pressure. Wu Yu is not surprised to encounter such a situation during his cultivation. It is not so easy to become an immortal. The worst thing is to become another Ming Long. Coming here is a choice he made, and there is nothing to regret. Those regrets, he has no time to think about at this time. The only thing he thinks about is to make himself die more spectacularly. Anyway, even if the main body is gone, the heaven-devouring body can still keep him alive. He will lose a lot. When he was distracted and thought about making his death more gorgeous, his heart became pure. When all the fears were removed and only the straight madness was left, Wu Yu felt that the world was bright. The body of the devouring heaven was fighting fiercely with the light beast outside. And he, in the most difficult forging in the world, was like a madman, forging himself with the formula of the indestructible body of the six realms heavenly King Buddha. This is still 1,000 words, the fifth level, and Ming Long taught Wu Yu to recite. Wu Yu had seen these words before, so sometimes he could remember one or two. Especially at this moment of life and death, this feeling is particularly clear. 1,000 words, each word is deeply engraved in the mind in order. Recite it fluently, recite it fluently. Perhaps, this is before death, at this moment, all wills hit together, when all distractions are put aside and focused on this six realms heavenly King Buddha indestructible body, such a clear and profound scene will appear. For a moment, the pain seemed to be relieved, because at that moment, the burning of the fire spirit immortal liquid was forgotten, and all I thought about were the thousands of magical words. Golden, dazzling, solemn, and majestic, every word shines in front of my eyes like the scorching sun, making the surrounding world constantly change, as if it is changing between dreams and reality. The first world, which is also the innermost world, is Hum. The second world is Me. The third world is Be. The fourth world is Ne. The fifth world is Ma. The outermost world is Om. Coming from the inside, first use the body as the foundation to forge the first world. This requires fusion of a large amount of fire spirit immortal liquid. This condition is met, because at this time, the fire spirit immortal liquid almost swallowed him. Wu Yu is now struggling in pain and transcendence. Hum Tianzun Wang Buddha, guarding the innermost world, is the core of this world. Wu Yu is now determined to fight, even if his limbs are now hard. He gritted his teeth, according to the description in the scripture, twisted his limbs, neck, head, torso, and made a strange posture that is not usually done. Even this posture has requirements for fingers, toes, and the degree of opening of eyes, and must be in this posture, because this is exactly the posture of a Tianzun Wang Buddha here. Wu Yu was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. Now that his original body was going to die, he might as well go all out. It was just a matter of death anyway. He still had the body of the heaven devourer. If he trained well, he would be a heaven devourer demon ancestor. That was not bad. So he gnashed his teeth and took this posture. Originally, this posture was very difficult, but now that his limbs were burned, the movement became easy, just like a piece of iron being burned and melted. Never expected that this posture would contain some kind of Tao. It was actually very wonderful. When this posture was formed, any part of this body, the flesh, bones, acupuncture points, heart, liver, spleen, lungs, blood vessels, dantian, and everything else, formed a strange cycle. In this cycle, all of these seemed to form a whole, all melted together, forming a closed state. Therefore, Wu Yu was more conscious in this posture. It was like this. The posture containing the Tao could give him a stronger ability to resist the pain of being burned. Is this the power of the heavenly King Buddha? Although the posture was ridiculous, Wu Yu was instantly excited and even roared, because at this moment, he seemed to no longer just watch himself die silently like before, but could begin to guide and change, so that the fire spirit immortal liquid began to merge with his flesh and blood. Wu Yu had swallowed a volcano in the East China Sea. Now it was actually very similar to the last time, but the degree was higher. He maintained this strange posture, and in the dark, he saw a golden body, curly hair, bare chest and abdomen. The thing called Buddha, also in this posture, appeared in front of his eyes, and then he could see that inside his body, there was actually a world, with flowers, trees, birds, beasts, insects, and fish, with the sun, the moon, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, light, and darkness. A vast world appeared perfectly in his body when he showed such a posture. At the same time, vaguely, he could also see his involvement with the entire huge world outside. That kind of unfathomable Tao, or not Tao, but another kind of thing, is really fascinating. Wu Yu knew that this was the heavenly King Buddha, and he was the direction Wu Yu was moving towards. He maintained this posture to feel the heavenly King Buddha in his mind, to see the operation of the thousands of words of scriptures, to see that the road is endless, and to see that when he was integrating the fire spirit immortal liquid, silently reciting the scriptures, and operating the scriptures, his body seemed to be changing into a world, stable, vast, and huge. The sun, the moon, the air, the grassland, the mountains, the sea, the rivers, the basins, the plateaus, everything is there. Until this time, Wu Yu found that he had escaped from the pain of the fire spirit immortal liquid, and even his life was no longer in danger, because he had taken the first step at the craziest moment. If he was in a trance at this time, he could still feel the suffocating burning pain, but the advantage of the fifth level of the Vajra indestructible body was that when Wu Yu was fully focused on the scripture and the Tianzun King Buddha, he could immerse himself in it, get rid of the burning pain, enter the state of trance, and use this large amount of fire spirit immortal liquid to start a desperate struggle and forge a new Vajra indestructible body. He knew in his heart that he was in danger and lucky. In fact, he was really afraid of the fire spirit immortal liquid at the beginning, and he couldn't hold on no matter how tough he was. If the light beast didn't appear, he would escape, but he might lack the courage to come in next time. If he didn't have the spirit of fighting to the death, his body would probably be destroyed now, and it would be impossible for him to start in the fire spirit immortal liquid. However, this does not mean that Wu Yu has succeeded. He has just taken the first step. If he stops for a while, the fire spirit immortal liquid can kill him. He must be highly intensive in this forging, otherwise the violent fire spirit immortal liquid can destroy his flesh and blood and make him die instantly if there is a slight mistake. He is always on the edge of life and death and cannot collapse at all. How can I waste such luck after saving a life? Wu Yu felt relieved because he had saved his life. Thinking about it this way, it seemed that he would not suffer any loss. He knew that he needed such a spirit to easily devote himself to the wonders of this magical method, to these 1,000 words, and to these 6 Tianzun Wang Buddhas. His posture could not change yet. World. The body is like the world. This is indeed the most amazing thing he has ever seen. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 870. To be honest, it was really hard to deal with so many light beasts. But in the end, Wu Yu still relied on Beiming Emperor K to kill all these gods. If they were not killed, they would fight endlessly for the glass lamp and would not stop or flee. Wu Yu's most powerful combat weapon now was still the body of devouring heaven. Although there were many opponents, he still solved them after a fight. When he was tired, he swallowed a light beast. It was like eating fish. Wu Yu found that swallowing the flesh and blood of the gods was less effective than swallowing demons and humans. Fortunately, it didn't eat much, otherwise it would exceed Wu Yu's control. After swallowing, the strength lost in the previous intensive battle was immediately replenished. Under this cycle, Wu Yu was simply a fighting machine, and the light beast was also stubborn. Even though it was killed by Wu Yu and lost its armor, it didn't escape in the end, but fought to the last moment, and finally died and injured. The area around the glass lamp became quiet again. After the heaven-devouring body finished the battle, Wu Yu focused all his attention on the main body. After a tightrope walking experience, the first level of the physical world was finally almost completed. During this process, Wu Yu integrated a large amount of fire spirit immortal liquid into all parts of his body, including his flesh, bones, internal organs, etc., and continuously integrated, transformed, and changed them. Under the integration of the fire spirit immortal liquid, these flesh, bones, internal organs, etc. became extremely hot, burning like the fire spirit immortal liquid at all times. Not only did this change happen, but from another perspective, those flesh, bones, etc., in the closed environment, formed an internal world, with the heavenly King Buddha sitting in it, guarding this physical body. Now Wu Yu's body is a furnace. Even more terrifying than a furnace, the numerous fire spirit immortal liquids were integrated into every particle of the body. The smallest particle was fused with hundreds of times the volume of fire spirit immortal liquid. You can imagine how hot it would be. As long as Wu Yu wanted, he could set everything around him on fire at any time. But now, he was only the foundation of the indestructible body of the six realms heavenly venerable King Buddha. He only built the first level of the physical world. There was only one heavenly venerable King Buddha guarding his body. Now, every particle of his body, the fire spirit immortal liquid fused, seemed to have reached the limit and could no longer be increased. In fact, it was not the case. His next challenge was to break through his limit 5 times, and after fusion to the limit, start again, and increase the volume by hundreds or thousands of times, so that the physical world would exceed the limit, and create 2 physical worlds, one inside and one outside, from scratch, so that 2 heavenly venerable King Buddhas could sit in the body. Of course, if there is a second, there will be a third. Until Wu Yu's six-fold physical world is fully constructed and created, and a hexagonal reincarnation and cycle is formed between the six-fold world, that is the most stable physical body, and the most immortal physical body. It is also the top physical body in terms of strength, speed, and defense. Especially in terms of physical strength, the power of the six-fold world can move mountains and fill the sea, and reverse the sky. The defense of the six-fold world is also an important guarantee of immortality. If you can achieve the indestructible body of the 6 realms heavenly King Buddha, it is indeed an extremely exciting thing, and it is also the transcendence of Wu Yu's own life. But it is far from too early to be happy now. On the one hand, he is still trapped at the bottom of the lake of the fire spirit immortal liquid. On the other hand, he still needs to transcend 5 limits, which is equivalent to pouring 5 bottles of water into a bottle full of water, and it cannot overflow. This requires Wu Yu to compress infinitely. It is hard to imagine how talented the person who created this indestructible body was to come up with such an incredible forging method. Wu Yu is definitely stronger than the indestructible body of Dragon King Buddha in the first level of the physical world. There is still so much fire spirit immortal liquid left. How to press it in? Can't doubt, can't retreat, otherwise even if there is a physical world, there is still so much fire spirit immortal liquid left, it can also take my life. After a slight hesitation, the power brought by the fire spirit immortal liquid in the burning is also quite terrible, and it can still burn Wu Yu with grimace. He was scared and immediately invested in the forging of the physical body. Sometimes, the power of the heart is really important. At this time, Wu Yu thought more about his desire to become an immortal, his desire to understand and chase the footsteps of the Monkey King, Luo Bin, Wu Yu, and all his relatives and friends. Think about himself in this extremely dangerous Yanhuang ancient domain. You must be immortal, you must not follow the old path of Minglong, you must have a pure and upright heart, you must move forward courageously, and you must be fearless. He is not the kind of person who hides to practice. If he hides, he cannot forge the will of the Monkey King, and he cannot become the current Wu Yu. If he hides, even if he has a great immortal inheritance, it will be wasted. Now that he has calmed down, he thinks more clearly. Maybe he is now freed from the disaster just now. At least he now has the ability to think, instead of relying on the heart of desperate. The second posture. The physical world starts with the posture. The first posture comes from the Xuanhuan Buddha, which is strange enough, and this second posture comes from the Xuanhuan Buddha. Om Mani Padme Hum is actually 6 strange pronunciations without words. The 6 worlds are Om Mani Padme Hum, and the 6 Tianzunhuang Buddhas are also like this. The posture of the Heavenly King Buddha in the second level of the world is really unspeakable. It is almost like squatting to perform cataracts, but the key is to wink. There are also specific requirements for the arms and fingers, and one hand must be placed on the hip. Anyway, it can be as awkward as it is. Generally speaking, it is a posture that ordinary people cannot do and will not do. But Wu Yu saw that this Tianzun King Buddha was like this, so he did it. Of course I trust the method of indestructible body. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. It's amazing. After making this inelegant posture, the same wonderful feeling as before appeared. This is the most important step in transforming from a human into a world. When this posture appeared, Wu Yu felt that the connection between himself and the world was one step closer, and in the process of reciting the scriptures, rotating the scriptures, comprehending the scriptures, and integrating the fire spirit fairy fluid, different postures actually gave birth to different worlds. Wu Yu felt that a new world had appeared in his body. This world covered the original world, but now it is still completely blank. Wu Yu can definitely continue to follow the previous approach and make this new world the same as the physical world he just created. After all, for the time being, from a world perspective, the two worlds are not involved yet. But from the perspective of a flesh and blood body, it is obvious that it is not that easy to continue to fuse the fire spirit fairy liquid in a crowded flesh body. This is already the limit, so Wu Yu is very curious about how the indestructible body of the Vajra will be solved. The problem. When Wu Yu used new postures to create a new physical world, he discovered that this method of indestructible body was really wonderful to the extreme. After the birth of the blank new world, from a large perspective, his flesh, blood, muscles, bones, and internal organs were still the same size as before, but they seemed to be blank, and the part that was not fused with the fire spirit fairy liquid was small. From the perspective of each particle, it is actually the particles that split into two. However, it just fills the gaps between the particles and the total number increases. Therefore, from the outside of the body, Wu Yu has not changed much. He had already created a saturated physical world, which was now superimposed on a new world, and it was still completely blank. Wu Yu was shocked and did not waste time. He quickly started to create this new world. The physical world, because it has become easier. It turns out that the 6 realms of heavenly kings and Buddhas are indestructible. The most difficult thing is the first moment, and the thrilling fusion that follows. The biggest problem does not need to be solved by Wu Yu himself. This method directly solves the problem. Of course, this does not mean that he succeeded in this way. In the next steps, in the forging of the 6-layer world, there still cannot be any mistakes. The fire spirit fairy liquid is an extremely hot thing, and he is just like drawing a magic circle. A complex magic circle, every stroke must not go wrong. Once there is a deviation, even a little bit, the entire magic circle will be destroyed. The magic circle can be redrawn, but this physical body collapses and falls into the fire spirit. In the explosion of fairy liquid, it will definitely be wiped out. It can be said that Wu Yu at this time cannot be harassed in the slightest. This 6th-level world has such special characteristics. Harassment at this time will most likely make Wu Yu fail. In short, before he is completely successful, Wu Yu has always been in front of the gate of hell, especially as he goes to the back. The energy in his body is getting bigger and bigger, but it has not completely formed the cycle and stability of the 6-layer world. Before the final success, the further to the back, after making a mistake, the power unleashed will be even more terrifying. Then the death would be more complete, and Minglong's remaining soul might be destroyed. So Minglong was nervous at this time, and she didn't dare to disturb Wu Yu, so she could only pray silently in her heart. We must succeed. I don't want to see you lose your life. The sky-swallowing body is difficult to control. No matter what, you must keep your original body, Wu Yu. She didn't know when she started to care so much about his life and death. When they first met, she was actually very indifferent. After all, she lost her life, but Wu Yu got her inheritance. Now time is slowly passing by. Disappearing and getting along with each other, she didn't even know that this person's life and death would have such an important meaning besides having an impact on her own rebirth. Of course, this wouldn't be love. In her eyes, Wu Yu was a junior. She took Wu Yu with him from the time he didn't understand anything until now, but she didn't know what it was. Therefore, she could only think silently and pray to God. Today's third update.